Hi, it's Dwyer, gamblersadvisory.com, DwyerVIP.com for premium sports picks. Look us up in the sports section on Roku. We're there. Dwyer Boxing and Sports News. And within, the next day or so, we should be listed under Dwyer Boxing and Sports News on TuneIn. Remember, the opinion you should follow should be your own. Just consider this video to be a second opinion from a complete stranger online. Now, I've always been troubled by the ending of the Floyd Mayweather-Victor Ortiz fight, right? You may recall Ortiz did an intentional headbutt. Time was called. It was clear that Ortiz had fouled Mayweather. Then, when they resumed action, boxing has a saying, protect yourselves at all times. Right? When they resumed action, the men touched gloves. Mayweather immediately decked Victor Ortiz. Right? Now keep in mind, at the time of the decking, it looked to me like the referee, Joe Cortez, was looking outside of the ring. He himself wasn't expecting the action to resume as quickly as it did, and Victor Ortiz seemed to be looking at Joe Cortez. Now, given that that's Mayweather's only knockout in several fights, look it up on the record. Right? It's always bothered me because while Ortiz blew it, while he didn't protect himself at all times, I have a hard time believing that if that action didn't occur right after a break in which neither the referee nor Victor Ortiz was ready to fight, then Ortiz likely wouldn't have been stopped. Right? Understand, when Ortiz gets decked, that's the end of the fight. He isn't able to continue. But understand, in that fight, Victor Ortiz was the wrongdoer. In that fight, Victor Ortiz intentionally tried to break the rules and headbutt Floyd Mayweather. Also understand, in that fight, I believe they were in something like the fourth round. In other words, there were a few rounds in the books when that KO took place. Now, you don't have any of those mitigating factors in this Guillermo Rigondeaux Sod Kokietgym fight. Right? In my opinion, and I know this isn't the popular view, but whatever. We're custodians of the sport here. In my opinion, as great as Rigondeaux looked in that first round, this fight necessarily should be called a no contest. Right? I don't know how you can give a guy a loss under these circumstances. Understand, unlike the Ortiz fight, there are no intentional headbutts in the Kokietgym fight. None whatsoever. Right? He gets hit with an accidental headbutt. I would argue it's clear from the footage, even after they stopped the fight after the accidental headbutt, that he isn't ready to continue after that accidental headbutt. Right? He gets drilled right after the accidental headbutt. Right? They start action again. Kokietgym still looks dazed and confused. Rigondeaux hits him with the 1-2. The fight's over. Right? I'm hoping that the local boxing commission, and the fight took place in Macau. And understand, I'm a big Rigondeaux fan. Right? I see greatness in Rigondeaux. Right? I took Rigondeaux over Dwyer here online. But I am hoping the local boxing commission looks into this fight, just watches the very short tape, and it's short, folks, right? All of this happens in the first round. right? And then reaches the conclusion that but for the accidental headbutt, Rigondeaux would not have gotten the first round knockout, right? They need to give Kokietgym some kind of accommodation. They don't have to necessarily order an immediate rematch. They can treat him favorably in the rankings, right? Maybe he has to win one or two more fights to get another shot at the title. But this really wasn't a legitimate shot, right? Understand, Kokietgym, 37 years old, had fought his entire career to get to this point. He had not lost in 8 years. He goes into this fight something like 63-2, right? Technically 63-1. He had been the WBC Asian Boxing Council Super Bantamweight champion, right? I don't believe you should be able to end a guy's dream of being champion on an accidental headbutt, followed by Rigondeaux touching gloves and throwing a punch immediately thereafter. That ends the fight, right? So, what I want people to do is to look up the fight. The video's all over the net. I have the video posted in my favorites section on my YouTube channel page. I want you to look at that video carefully, and if you agree with me, let's start the outcry to have this fight listed as a no contest. I'm not accusing Rigondeaux of any wrongdoing, right? Kokietgym was supposed to protect himself at all times. I'll agree with that. But I believe a commission has to understand that when you have a big headbutt like that, and when it's clear from the film that following the accidental, not intentional, but accidental headbutt, the opponent really isn't able to continue, even when the ref allows the fight to go on. I hope the local boxing commission has enough juice to talk with the sanctioning body to have this declared a no contest. Let me say this too. I don't blame Rigondeaux. I also don't blame the ref. Right? It's the first round. The ref wants to give both guys a chance to win the fight. Right? The fans have paid good money to come to the arena to see the fight. It's so early in the fight that the ref would almost be committing malpractice to stop it that soon, especially since Kokietgym thought he could continue, or at least was trying to continue in the fight. But you can't have championship fights, in my opinion, decided by headbutts like this. And unlike the Victor Ortiz fight, where Ortiz was the perpetrator doing the intentional headbutt, here, Kokietgym is just the victim of an accidental headbutt. That distinction needs to be recognized. In my opinion, this fight needs to be called a no decision. Let me just say this too. Rigondeaux, for the brief moment in which this fight took place, looked like a master. What I like with Rigondeaux is, unlike fellow Cuban Erislandy Lara, right? We talk about the Cuban School of Boxing. Understand, Rigondeaux is a gold medal Olympian from Cuba. Unlike Erislandy Lara, you're going to notice that Rigondeaux stays in the pocket a lot more. Right? There's less movement away from the pocket. So his presence in the pocket, right, just leaps out much more than Erislandy Lara's. Now, don't get me wrong. When Kokietgym takes a step forward, Rigondeaux knows how to slide backwards. Right? There is some movement from Rigondeaux, but it's not the excessive movement of Erislandy Lara. Right? To Lara, if you want to be a little bit more crowd-pleasing, if you want to become more of a fan favorite, you need to look at your fellow countryman, how he goes about his business. Right? Fans can see how Rigondeaux is able to make guys miss while he's closer to the pocket than Erislandy Lara. I think that's a big distinction between the two. Now, all of that said, you know where I stand. I still believe Erislandy Lara beat Saul Alvarez by several rounds. Right? Here, I'm not saying that Kokietgym beats Rigondeaux in a rematch. But wow, Rigondeaux shouldn't be awarded a successful title defense off of an accidental headbutt like this in the first round of a fight that barely started. Put another way, there would have been a huge outcry if, after an accidental headbutt, Kokietgym in the next two punches following the break ended the fight the way Rigondeaux ended this one. Right? This wasn't a satisfying title fight. I don't blame the ref. I don't blame the fighter. Let's hope the local boxing commission does its job. Let's hope the sanctioning body does its job in the rankings after this one. If you're a 37-year-old longtime fighter, 63-2-1, and you have earned a shot at the title, it shouldn't end this way, on an accidental headbutt followed by a 1-2 that takes you out. Let me hear from you. Leave your comments for me here online. Visit us at gamblersadvisory.com. Also, stop by at TuneIn. Thanks. Bye-bye.